What's good, family? It's your boy, Catchy Freeman, or your man, Debate the Cause. Catchy Freeman on Twitch, Catchy_Freeman on Twitch if you like gaming and you like political analysis. I do Prime Minister's Questions every Wednesday. I've been watching and charting the demise of the Tory party. It's been quite interesting. I was on live when all the resignations were coming in. Catchy_Freeman on Twitch. That's where I live mostly. But, you know I like my reports, right? Sue Gray, Chakrabarti, right? Well, curiously, we've got this Forde report, right? And the Forde report was conducted into Labour, right? This was a report about certain allegations, and this is actually a leaked report of the most significant allegations within the leaked report. That's what I've got here. Right, we're going to get down to allegation 6, right? A racist, sexist, and otherwise discriminatory culture exists in party workplaces. Not the Labour Party, not the Labour Party I know, not the Labour Party I grew up with, not the Labour Party under Jeremy Corbyn. Labour's always been fair. And, well, hold on. It was the Harold Wilson government, wasn't it, that condoned the genocide of Biafrans in the 1970s, wasn't it? Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was the Harold Wilson government that funded the genocide against the Biafran people. Yeah, oh yeah, okay. And it was the Labour government that devised numerous press releases to say that, you know, they were terrorists when really, in fact, they were protecting the interests of Shell Oil. Yeah, that was Labour, right? So, like on Twitch, you know, many people come going, you vote for Joe Biden. Like, I'm not American. Like, you're a commie. Like, okay, Russia's not communist anymore. I suppose there's only really China. But, so I get all of these allegations thrown at me straight away, which is really stupid, right? But, a racist, discriminatory, sexist culture? Surely not. Are you sitting comfortably? And then we'll begin. Summary and conclusions. 3 dimensions of our inquiry led us to conclude that there are serious problems of discrimination in the operations of the party. The undoubted, overt and underlying racism and sexism apparent in some of the content of the WhatsApp messages between parties' most senior staff. A significant number of replies to our call for evidence, mainly from ordinary party members, spelling out their experience with racism, Islamophobia and sexism. Oh, well, you mean prima facie? Oh, wow. Okay. In constituency parties and in party processes, whilst it is not our intention to examine cases in CLPs, often the complaints were in part about the failure of party officials at regional and national level to take such problems seriously. Submissions from current and former members of staff describing their experiences of discrimination and lack of sensitivity to issues of racism and sexism displayed by senior management in Labour. We could be talking about the Tories here. Other themes included concerns that the attention to the surge of cases relating to anti-Semitism and the importance they appear to play in the interfactional conflict meant that the party was in effect operating a hierarchy of racism or of discrimination, with other forms of racism and discrimination being ignored. That's right, because they were like, oh, anti-Semitism, you're an anti-Semite. Meanwhile, going, you black, whatever, you black. I can't stand her. She's got hair like a Brillo pad. While they're all doing that, they're going, and you're an anti-Semite. So they were using anti-Semitism as a weapon. That's pretty much what it's saying, right? For a party which seeks to be a standard bearer of its progressive politics, equality, and workers' rights, this is an untenable situation. No shit. Right? The party must live by its values and lead by example. Let's go on. Some progress has been made in relation to sexism, though there is clearly more to be done. The party clearly needs to continue its work to root out sexual harassment and misogyny in its workplaces, and impressive work has been done on that front already. But it also needs to be alive to the subtler ways in which even senior women can feel excluded and undermined. It seems to us that less progress has been made when it comes to racism. Racism in the party is not experienced by individuals solely through acts of aggression or microaggression, aggressions towards them personally is experienced through seeing colleagues being passed over for promotion, being the only person from an ethnic minority background around a meeting table, being managed by a near exclusively white senior team. Oh yeah, that reminds me of the predominantly black school that I did 20 years teaching, in which the entire senior leadership was white. Yeah, really reflective of the community. But you know, it's symptomatic, isn't it? Just in the same way in that very school you had the head of child protection running around banging the girls, but then you got Boris Johnson putting a pervert as chief whip. It all filters from the top down. It all filters from the top down. It is experienced through seeing colleagues being passed over for promotion, being the only person from an ethnic minority background around a meeting table, being managed by a near exclusively white senior team, and hearing the particular disdain which colleagues reserve, for example, ethnic minority MPs, councillors and CLP members. No way, so they're that blatant with it. Many respondents felt they were confronted with a less welcoming atmosphere, in which many respondents felt they were forced to immerse themselves daily, and this amounts to a constant drain on the attention and energies of talented people who would prefer to be focused on their work. That's right, they're playing stupid games. Actually, what they're doing is, this is a very articulate way of saying people were forced into coonery. It's a very articulate way of saying people were forced into coonery. Yeah? Many respondents felt that they were confronted with a less welcoming atmosphere, in which many respondents felt they were forced to immerse themselves daily. And this amounts to a constant drain on the attention and energies of talented people who would prefer to be focused on their work. That means they're taking all these slights, and they're having all of these issues, and they're hearing all these phrases. Oh, you lot are a lot better than it. You lot don't do that sort of thing, do ya? Oh! And they're dealing with that rather than being productive party members, right? In many cases, the recruitment practices described in the previous section were seen as creating additional barriers for, in particular, black and ethnic minority staff, with senior staff recruiting from their own networks and in their own image, often without following an open recruitment process. They're just employing their own people. Yeah, nepotism probably. Whilst we do not suggest that those practices are anywhere near universal in the party, a staff member only has to see it happening once to perceive that the party is not a professional environment in which they can contribute and progress to the maximum of their potential. I know that feeling. Many staff felt that specific problems were only dealt with when it was politically expedient and or essential to do so, and that the party's more recent steps to address the problems with anti-Semitism, for example, have not been matched by a commitment to tackle other forms of racism, nor by a full-scale effort to get its house in order as an employer. Moreover, the persistence of racist attitudes among some staff and the failure to prioritize a suitably robust response to those attitudes meant that complaints were not treated with the urgency and sensitivity they deserved. The outrage rightly directed in recent years at the scourge of anti-Semitism should be matched by equally strong measures against all forms of discrimination within party workplaces as well as within the membership. But we know Labour's been infiltrated. Labour's Mossad infiltrated. That's why we got Keir at the top. Anti-Semitism is used to beat down black and ethnic minority party members when they call out the discrepancies of foreign policies and the outrageous acts being committed by foreign governments. Then they go, you're anti-Semitic, you're anti-Semitic. It's bullshit. Whilst we received a few responses which specifically detailed homophobia or discrimination against people with disabilities, and we did not receive reports of transphobia, we strongly suggest that the party also addresses these types of workplace discrimination. In short, it is essential that the party takes steps to become an environment in which everybody can contribute and thrive. It must model the kind of workplace environment which it would wish to see across the country were it in power. Much of the commentary on the leaked report has focused on comments it quotes from senior staff which are deemed to be disciplinary. The approach we have taken to the SMT, WhatsApp transcripts and instant messages is explained in the introduction to section C of this report. The authors of the messages deny any discriminatory intent. Well, of course they would, and in many cases consider the comments to have been taken out of context and or deliberately misrepresented in the leaked report. We will consider briefly in this section the extent to which those messages evidenced discriminatory attitudes among the senior management team. Though we do not seek to address wrongdoings by particular individuals, where appropriate, we understand disciplinary action has been taken against the individuals concerned, and we do not seek to replicate that exercise here. So people have done some shit and they've been found guilty and blah blah blah, and they're just gonna go, hey look, this guy got found guilty for blah. Why? Because they're doing that shit. Our primary interest is in the broader question of the extent to which any problematic communications between individuals were indicative reflective of a broader culture of discrimination in party workplaces. Like the GMB union, we believe that any action against individuals is of secondary importance to the overarching need for institutional responses towards an institutional and cultural problem. I get that, but get rid of the blatant people first, right? And then see who their bosses are. But get rid of the blatant people first. Don't go, no, he's racist. But we've got to look at the systems. Our focus is on discrimination in party workplaces, not amongst the membership as a whole or within individual CLPs. Those are separate, serious issues on which we received a significant volume of evidence, but which fall outside the scope of this report. However, it is important to recognise that if there are elements of racism, sexism and homophobia within party workforce, or even lack of recognition of the importance of such issues when serious complaints are received of discrimination behaviour in the wider party, those complaints may well not be prioritised or indeed understood and treated with the appropriate urgency and sensitivity. So there's just so much shit coming at them. There's just so much shit coming at them. We can't guarantee that we'll get round to every response. The SMT WhatsApp transcripts. Several extracts from, in particular, the SMT WhatsApp transcripts have been cited as evidence of discriminatory views held by the senior management team. Most significantly, comments that Diane Abbott literally makes me sick, is truly repulsive, and is a very angry woman. Oh, not did they use the angry woman thing? Oh my God. Discussions about the attire of junior female staff, in which one is said to be wearing a see-through, flesh-coloured, skin-tight top and no bra. You'd think with all that money she could afford to buy a jacket and a bra. And descriptions of Katie Murphy as a crazy woman and bitch-faced cow, as well as comments about her physical appearance. Discussions about Diane Abbott, including in relation to the exchange in which we refer on page 26, have been focus of significant attention. The authors of relevant messages deny that she was singled out for criticism because she was a black woman. You're not going to get 100% sympathy on Diane Abbott with me. I think Diane Abbott has been used as a racist lightning rod for a long time. I think she's known what she's been doing for a long time. I think anyone with any competence and any racial awareness of culture wouldn't be blundering intentionally as many times as she has done unless it was part of her job. And I don't think any person of colour could have blundered as many times as Diane Abbott has in public and still kept their job, right? Okay? Right? How many people do you know could have made as many public embarrassments of themselves as Diane Abbott had and still kept their position? Right? When it looks like a duck, smells like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. No, you're not getting any boo-hoo from me on Diane Abbott. I think she's been a lightning rod for this shit for a long time. But maybe they're playing 3D chess. Maybe she's the lightning rod in order to draw out all the racist individuals within the pie. Well, if that was the case, those individuals would get done and Jeremy Corbyn would be in proper power. But no, she was the right-hand man to Jeremy Corbyn, being a bloody lightning rod for any embarrassment and pretty much scuppered his election campaign, if you ask me, right? Diane Abbott was the millstone, one of the millstones around Jeremy Corbyn's neck. Aside from the fact that Jeremy Corbyn was too weak to deal with the backbiters in his midst, he wasn't Machiavellian enough to deal with the traitors in his midst. He was all-encompassing. Jesus, like, and when you're going to be like that against other Machiavellian surreptitious individuals, you're going to lose. Excuse me. The authors of the relevant messages deny that she was singled out for criticism because she was a black woman. They say that she was criticised when her performance justified it. For example, when she missed the Brexit vote or performed poorly in an interview about policing costs. Right? Some of the witnesses we spoke to suggested that they had, in effect, just been treating Diane Abbott like they would white male MPs, and that they considered all MPs to be fair game for, at times, vicious criticism. I've read that twice, it doesn't make sense. We take issue with the underlying premise as to how MPs should be treated, but we also note that MPs of colour and female MPs were not always treated during the relevant period in the same way as their white male counterparts, not just in terms of the abuse they received, but in terms of the level of instinctive respect they were afforded within the party and within Parliament. It is incumbent on party staff to recognise this failure and to continue to work to ensure that it does not persist. Where are the black men? Where are the intelligent, well-educated black men? You think David Lamb is the only one? You've got to be joking. You've got to be joking. There are far more capable, politically astute, who aren't MPs than David Lammy. You know what the heartbreaking thing is for me? as this comes out, and as you see how racist the Labour is internally, you look at the people of colour who you've got in the party already and see what they're going to do about it. Diane Abbott, I don't think so. David Lammy, hell to the nizzo, right? There's only a couple people that we got left, but Janet Darby maybe, and a couple of others who basically haven't sold out, right? The others sold out long time ago. The nature of the justifications we were presented with point, in our view, to one of the fundamental ways in which racism is able to fester in an organisation like the party. They've already cast their judgment. They're like, no, don't give me that shit. Like, this is racism. Yeah? And the way that you're acting, is that like you think you're smart? They're probably like, no, I'm not racist, no, right? And they're like, yeah, you are, and the way that you're racist is like, you know, a cancer in the world. That's literally what we're reading here. The nature of the justifications we were presented with point, in our view, to one of the fundamental ways in which racism is able to fester in an organisation like the party, through the belief that unless you are criticising someone because of the colour of their skin, you are not being racist, coupled with a pervasive belief among party staff that they are on the right side of these issues and do not need to give them any particular thought. Hell no, and that's part of the racism. There are plenty of criticisms of Diane Abbott in the SMT WhatsApp transcripts, which we would consider to be an acceptable expression of the author's opinions. Indeed, we would put the majority of them in that category. No one, needless to say, has suggested that black and female MPs should be immune from criticism. The criticisms of Diane Abbott cited above, however, are not simply a harsh response to perceived poor performance. They are expressions of visceral disgust, drawing consciously or otherwise on racist tropes. Yes, right, and they bear little resemblance to the criticisms of white male MPs elsewhere in the messages. I mean, like they're like going, yeah, racist, possibly, I'm not racist, right? So, and the funny thing is, do you know the smug nature of the people who would have argued, no, I'm not being racist, actually, no, it's not, because I went for the Labour Party, actually. Do you know how many smug racists there are in Labour? Tons of them. Oh no, I'm not racist. But you know, but it doesn't help. Again, it doesn't help that the main focus of attention here is Diane Abbott, right? Now, if it was David Lammy or if it was Janet Darby or someone like that, then, you know, there'd be more credence, because I'm not being funny, those guys perform on occasions. Yeah, I said that about David Lammy. He performed the other day. I saw him on TV. I was like, all right. Yeah, like, you know, I'll give someone credit when it's due. Diane Abbott, the racist lightning rod. I mean, go to my YouTube page, you can see YouTube videos that I did 10 years ago saying Diane Abbott is part of the Ku Klux Klan. I was saying that 10 years ago. I was saying that 15 years ago on my YouTube. Diane Abbott, Klan activity, I called it. Diane Abbott, Klan activity. Look it up. In our view, the authors should have considered whether the fact that Diane Abbott is a black woman and has been vilified on that basis over several decades might have impacted on their instinctive responses to her, even if unconsciously, and B, meant that they should take particular caution with their language when discussing her. Now, they don't think about that. Racists are being racist, they're being natural. We agree with Diane Abbott's own comments that none of this narrative was ever challenged by the other participants in the WhatsApp groups, which leads to the conclusion that the remarks in the report were not outliners but represented the general tone of conversation amongst senior party staff about me and other black elected members. No, about you. Like, let's wait to hear about the other elected members. And you're going to say that, cite their names and cite occasions so people can follow it up. But obviously this is a report, they're just going to take what you said. And it's worth noting that not a single member of the senior management team or the Labour Party forward planning group was black. Yeah, well, yeah, like, that's institutionally racist. That's what happens in institutionally racist environments. We think that the discussion about junior female staff and Katie Murphy and the defences put to us by the authors are again indicative of a broader problem. They were talking bullshit. Their excuses were bullshit. The authors in some cases pointed to the fact that they are feminists and have done substantial work to promote women within the party as, in effect, negating the sexism of comments about the appearance and attire of female colleagues, the possibility that they have progressed because male colleagues find them attractive, and so on. In our view, those comments were straightforwardly sexist. She only got on because, like, they fancy her. But, you know, if you ask me, that's why Penny Mordaunt would have won the election. Better looking than Liz Truss, certainly better looking than Rishi Sunak. Yeah, because the country was going to vote for Prime Minister Sunak. Questions to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister Sunak. Yeah. In our view, those comments were straightforwardly sexist, irrespective of who made them, and it is unacceptable for senior staff to discuss female colleagues in those terms, even in private. If they're saying that in a public WhatsApp group, what do you think they're saying in private? Right? We take similar view of the comments about Katie Murphy. We recognise that many of the authors had extremely difficult relationships with her, but there are no circumstances in which we consider that it would be acceptable to criticise a colleague's appearance or to call her a bitch. The criticisms of Katie Murphy were often couched in gendered terms, and it seems to us that the fact that Katie Murphy is a woman played some part in intensifying the level of vitriol towards her. We accept that there were relatively few explicitly sexist comments in the SMT WhatsApp transcripts. They do not take away from the sterling work some of the authors have done for women in the party, but nor does that excuse them. We have heard expressions of sincere regret from some of the authors, and it is clear to us that at least some lessons have been learned. Yeah, they were doing the Boris. I'm really sorry, and I'm sorry. They're just giving it Tom Brown school days. I'm very sorry, and I hope my pupil housemaster won't punish me too severely. I will go off to see Nanny now. In our view, the fundamental problem is that people who are committed to progressive politics find it difficult, if not impossible, to accept that they might have acted in a way which was discriminatory. In fact, if one lives as we do in a society which is shot through with racism and sexism, one has to work actively to recognise and reject discriminatory language and ideas. However, consciously one regrets regressive ideologies. I heard someone say they were going to within earshot of me. Yeah, I'm just going to go around and, what? Like, what? In 2022? Yeah, but it's a northerner, isn't it? It's a northerner, right? So this shit is still in the culture depending where you go. There seems to be a tendency among party staff to believe that they are insulated from the ills of their society. The same dynamic which was, in our view, behind the failure of the elected leadership to countenance that, as lifelong anti-racists, they could be behaving in a way which perpetuated anti-Semitism. Our primary concern is with the extent to which messages such as those cited in the leaked report are indicative of broader cultural problems within the party. As a starting point, we should say that we consider it unlikely that there are many large organisations in the UK which do not have work to do when it comes to diversity and inclusion. As the UK's largest progressive political force, however, we think it's fair to expect the party to be leading rather than following in this area, you'd think, right? But this is under the leadership of Keir Starmer. We note that work is underway on that front, which we welcome. It may be some value to record here the submissions we've received regarding the extent of the problems. We note that the Labour Muslim Network has produced an excellent report on Islamophobia in the party, which we hope that the party will also consider carefully. Wow, Labour's just riddled with racism at the moment. Our analysis is based on the witness evidence and written submissions we have received, which constitute a fairly wide-ranging and, in our view, very helpful record of the first-hand experience of party employees. We have not, however, carried out a root and branch review of the party's workplaces. Witnesses to the inquiry were self-selecting and inevitably spoke to their perceptions on what went on. We have not been able to test forensically, thus we do not suggest that the below represents a comprehensive analysis, but it's a very good indicator. It'll be a very good indicator. You know, these are all the Keir Starmer supporters. These are all the people that were talking about a internal leadership election. These are all the people that were scuffed Jeremy Corbyn's leadership election and were in favour of Keir Starmer. These are all Keir Starmer's people. That's what I 100% believe. They are the racist, Mossad, Israeli infiltrated thought processes within the party. 100%. That's squarely where I'm laying it at. And now you're going to go, right? I said Israel. Right? Mossad. That's what I said. Right? So come and accuse me. Right? But then that's my personal belief. That's the only way that the morals of Labour could be so viciously supplanted. But remember, hold on, arms to Nigeria, hello. Biafra, hello. Harold Wilson government, arms to Nigeria. All Igbo boys over the age of 15 were allowed to be killed. Harold Wilson, Labour. Yeah, Labour. I vote Labour. Yeah. Okay. Aren't we having the anniversary of the Biafran genocide? And that happened last year. Oh yeah. Oh, who was in power under that? Oh, it was Labour. Yeah. Oh, well, who were you protecting again? Oh, Shell. The interests of Shell. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, which went on to destroy the land mass the size of Wales and have some Ogoni people hung. Yeah, Ken Saro Wiwa and all that later on. Yeah. Okay. Oh, no, hey. Don't worry about that. Yeah, but Labour. In the June 2020 staff survey provided to us by the GMB Union, 54% of respondents reported encountering discrimination while working for the party. In relation to a question asking how far they agreed with the statement that the party protects its employees from discrimination on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest, the average response was 4. We set out below some of the comments we received regarding racism, sexism and certain other types of discrimination in the party workplaces. We also note that some submissions denied that discrimination was a significant issue, saying, for example, no one I worked with made anti-Semitic, racist, homophobic or sexist remarks. In my hearing, we were undoubtedly motivated by the principles and traditions of the party. We have no reason to doubt the sincerity of what they said. However, we also note that those who are not themselves in groups likely to be discriminated against often find it harder to recognize discrimination where it arises, especially given the subtle ways in which it often manifests itself and the blind spot which progressive individuals sometimes have when it comes to recognizing it. I don't see color. Yeah, within their own ranks. I don't see color. We don't see color. How do you negotiate a traffic light? You know, all these bullshit. We don't see color type things while discriminating. This report is really, it's really pointing out the hypocrisy within Labour. That is part of the reason why we have quoted fairly extensively below from the submissions we received. We acknowledge that we did not conduct a comprehensive quantitative study of the problem, but the weight of evidence we heard satisfied us that it was real. And we reiterate our gratitude to all those individuals who took the time to record for the inquiry's benefit, often being extremely difficult experiences. Wow, so these people are telling the truth. While the submissions we received did not include direct evidence of overtly anti-Semitic behaviour by party staff, the evidence we received indicated a pattern of complaints about anti-Semitism either being ignored or exploited along factional lines, revealing a troubling inertia on behalf of the party in response to this issue. Damning. Right, that's gonna be the end of part 1. I'm gonna part 1 this. I'm gonna edit out because we're about to get into We're about to bite into the juicy racism.
I am the king and will not be. I am the king and will not.